The following slides are going to talk a lot about pricing your home. And that is probably one of the most important discussions that we need to have when we're ready to decide where you're going to price your home. And just from the onset, I want to let you know the decision is yours. We're just in charge of the process. I just want to provide you as much information as I can to help you make a knowledgeable decision so that you're informed. So with pricing your home, there's so many thoughts that come to mind with me. But the main thing is, if I could make your decision, I would tell you stay within the range of value. Now, sometimes sellers say, well, I can always come down. I want to list it higher. And that's true. You can. But there's a high risk that comes to listing a house too high. Buyers are so informed. And if they feel your house is priced too high, they're going to think you're not motivated. And they might go look at it, but they may not write an offer, or they may not come look at it at all. So that's one risk. The other is you risk the house not appraising if a buyer does agree to pay the price you want. And, you know, the appraisals, how that works is they have to look at past sales. They're not looking at what's active now and how your home compares to those. They have to look at past sales. And I think they can only go back 6 months. There's so many rules with appraisals. We have to make the bank happy, so that's why the appraisal has to be done. And the appraisal is really there just to show the bank that the borrower is not paying too much for the home. So it's usually the appraised value comes right in at around purchase price, unless the appraiser cannot support a really high price, then it'll come in lower. And we as the selling side, we don't usually ever see the appraisal unless it does come in low. So pricing is something to really pay attention to. I think that staying within the range of value is important, but then also looking at what the competition is and what went sell pending and how quick it went sell pending. The only issue is we don't know what that sale price is on the pending properties. A lot of people look at Zestimates. You have to remember that Zillow, they are the Zestimate people, right? They don't go into any of these houses. They're just looking at like valuations on paper. So they don't know if a house stinks or if it's in poor condition. They have no idea. So I would say that Zestimates are really not a very good guide to be using. Many times they might be lower than what you can sell your house for. The other thing that doesn't create value, is what your neighbor says your house is worth. And I think we all think our house is worth more than what it is. Generally speaking, I probably think my house is worth more than it is. I have to have a reality check sometimes. But pricing your home is important. So pay attention to the information that we're providing. And the only other thing that really, really comes into play is what type of market are we competing in? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Is it a neutral market? So what happens when it's a seller's market, that means that our supply is low and the demand is high. So, there's a handful of houses for 4 handfuls of buyers. So what happens when we have an imbalance like that and more buyers than there are houses to sell? That will increase the value of the house because you have more people vying for it, right? So it increases the values as we progress along into a seller's market. A buyer's market, that just means that there's way too many houses for the number of buyers. Things that create the changes in those markets are, interest rates. They can knock a lot of people out of the buying process because the interest rate's so high that their payment's too high and they just can't buy. So that affects buyers, but how do high interest rates affect a seller? Well, the prices will end up going down because the buyer can only spend so much based on an interest rate and what they qualify at. And in order to sell your home, sometimes you have to come down to that price, especially in a buyer's market. So a neutral market, I wish that we had more of those, but we really don't. Being a seller, though, it's great to be in the seller's market. So what I would say is when you're in a seller's market, the most activity you're going to get on your property is the first week. After that, if you haven't sold your house, The interest is going to decline, and you're going to have to make some changes and reposition your house in the marketplace. In a buyer's market, it could be 3 to 4 weeks where you get your activity, because there's just not enough buyers out there. So, you're going to be on the market a little bit longer. In a neutral market, it's probably 2 weeks, so you get your most interest then. So seller's market, that first week, you're going to get all your interest, and then it'll decline. In a buyer's market, it's probably going to be 3 to 4 weeks. And if you don't have it sold, within that 30 days or something, or it could be longer depending on what the absorption rate is, but your interest will fall off. So take the market conditions into consideration, and I share with you what your market conditions are a little bit later in the analysis.